crate is held at rest on a frictionless 44.3-degree ramp by a rope parallel to the incline. If the tension in the rope is 6,380 newtons, then what is the mass in kilograms of the crate?
Alright, the way to karate chop this problem is that first of all we're told to figure out the mass of the crate. In order to figure out the mass, we need to know what the force of gravity upon this crate is, which is not given to us. So first let's look at our diagram. We're given that the angle of the incline is theta, which is 44.3 degrees. Another given is that there's a force of tension holding the crate up, which is equal to 6,380 newtons. Let's look at what other forces are acting upon this object. There's also force of gravity, obviously, which is going straight down. And there's also the normal force, because it's on the surface, going perpendicular to the surface that it's on. Now, for the force of gravity, there are two components to make it easier for us. We can divide it into its x and y components. We don't know what force the normal force is, so we also don't know what the y component of gravity is. But what we do know is that the crate is at rest, which means the two forces acting upon it on both sides is equal. And because there's only one force moving this way, which is the x component of gravity, is going to be equal to the force tension, which is equal to 6,380 newtons. Now, we also know that the angle over here, which is the angle to the vertical of the force of gravity, is equal to the angle of inclination. So now, we can use trigonometry to figure out what the force of gravity is. We know the equation sine of theta is equal to the x component of gravity divided by the force of gravity itself. If we rewrite this equation, we can get the force of gravity is equal to the x component of the force of gravity divided by sine theta. Now let's plug in our numbers. We're given force of gravity is equal to the x component of gravity, which is 6,380 newtons, divided by sine of 44.3 degrees. And this answer comes out to be 9,135 newtons. And this right here is the force of gravity. And now we can take that simple equation, force of gravity is equal to mass times acceleration of gravity, to figure out what the mass is. So force of gravity, 9,135 newtons, divided by 9.8, which is the acceleration of gravity, gives us the mass. Which finally gives us the answer, 932 kilograms.
value.